1 in 3 or 1 in 4 people are going to end up with cancer in their lifetimes.
1 in 3 or 4.
Yeah, and that's a staggering statistic, unfortunately. So again, in India is the only place where you can see a super specialist in less than $10 in 24 hours. There's a discussion about interoperability of your medical data. I do believe that it may be a game changer. The way UPI changed the face of financial transactions, it's likely to do for healthcare in India and probably the first one globally.
What led you to make this switch? I don't think I know any doctors turned MBA.
Do not let anybody tell you that you're not ready for it.
Hello, welcome back to Chat Masala, where we bring you professional and life lessons from leaders across industries. Today, we're so excited to have with us Dr. Ritu Garg. She's the Chief Growth and Innovation Officer at Fortis, one of India's leading hospital chains. She's super unique in that, in addition to being a doctor, she has a finance and strategy degree from the Indian School of Business in Hyderabad. So we're going to get into how she juggles medicine, management, and so many other things. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Garg.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
Lovely. So I'd love to jump in, heading growth and innovation for Fortis, with so much happening in biotech and bioengineering and bioinformatics, precision medicine. What are you most excited about? What can we see in the Indian healthcare industry in the coming couple decades?
So I'll divide this into two parts, right? So there is one part which talks about bringing in the cutting edge, globally best healthcare in India and across the world. And then there is a large piece about ensuring that you have access and affordability to a larger section of the society. And in India, you have to answer for both. So in terms of the first one, where we say, what is the exciting cutting edge? I think over time, robotics is one that is definitely taking shape. It started a decade ago and it was a slow in the adoption, but last year we saw an explosive adoption of robotics. So in terms of precision, in terms of better clinical outcomes, and a lot more acceptance of the fact that it does make life better. So robotics is clearly one.
Are you talking about robotics in like surgery?
Yes, yes. I'm talking about robotics in surgery. Then second big thing is personalized and precision. Now, unfortunately, the cancer is one of the largest growing sort of issue in the world. There are statistics to say that probably at some point, 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 people are going to end up with cancer in their lifetimes.
1 in 3 or 4.
Yeah, and that's a staggering statistic, unfortunately. But the silver lining being that has also propelled a lot of research in it, both on the preventive side, as well as early diagnostic, as well as treatment, which would mean that a lot of people will be able to detect it much earlier and be able to still live their normal lives and the entire lifespan with all the advancements that have happened. And through that value chain, we see early adoption in terms of, let's say, there's a new term called liquid biopsy, which means that are you able to pick up cells in your body, which will be able to predict that, you're likely to have a cancer much earlier than before. The genomic mapping is also come of age. It's been around for decades. But the confidence and the fact that it is for real is actually coming in now. There was a very interesting development that happened in India very recently. So we have something called CAR T cells, which is manipulated sort of your personalized cells in which you add a viral vector. And that has got regulatory approval just now a month back by the drug regulatory authorities of India. What it means is that it is going to change the way the leukemias are treated in the world. So instead of a bone marrow transplant or a refractory bone marrow transplant, you could now have these genetic therapies which are coming. And this is just a start. There's another very advanced technology called CRISPR technology that got also approved in US very recently. And there will be a lot of clinical trials. So going forward in years to come, lot of these interventions will actually become non-invasive and will be done through your targeted cells, your personalized medicine, which means that if two people have similar kind of a disease, their treatment will look different. And that is likely to happen for sure.
Got it. So just going back, you said there are two major pillars. Number one is bringing in cutting-edge medical technology to India. Number two, making healthcare more affordable and accessible. Do these two go together? By implementing technology, are we making these therapies more accessible to a wider segment of the population, or are these cutting-edge developments accessible only to a privileged few?
So to begin with, there are very expensive treatments. I think the affordability will only come when there is economies of scale, where there's large production, and that's how generally the evolution of medicine has been, right? So if you look at, for example, a cath lab or angioplasty, it was probably much costlier if you go back 2 decades when it started, but over time it has become a lot more affordable. That is what is going to happen to all of these therapies. To begin with, the introduction will be more expensive. So robotic surgery is expensive today. Now the thought is that because it's not wider adoption, there will be more affordable robots. There will be efficiency driven innovations that would happen both on the equipment side as well as on the delivery side, which would make these affordable to a larger extent. But right now, what we also are grappling with, that you need to have a base healthcare, and a basic quality of healthcare being accessible to large population, and that there is a separate ecosystem for that, with Ayushman Bharat, with retail insurance, all of that, so that at least everybody has a basic, decently quality healthcare available. And then on the other side is this whole excellence and the best cutting edge, which is also starting to get introduced, which we are hoping that in maybe a decade or so will have a larger impact, will become a lot more affordable.
Got it. Where are we right now with some of this precision medicine, whether it's genetic testing or the liquid biopsies you mentioned? Like, if I were to take a genetic test right now, I think I did that about 10 years ago, and it told me, okay, you have this percentage chance of contracting type 2 diabetes. How accurate is that? And is it getting more accurate with
It is.
With time?
It is definitely getting more accurate. It is also a lot more accessible now. Earlier, you would send many samples to US. There were very hardly Indian companies who would be doing that. But now you do have Indian companies who are sort of, have developed these kind of kits, as well as genetic counselors, and trying to get this into the mainstream. So if there is a family history of a particular disease, then, the accessibility of a person to understand whether they themselves are at the risk, and the lifestyle modification that they need to do to reduce that risk is very much possible now.
Got it. What does a liquid biopsy reveal that a genetic test does not?
So liquid biopsy is also a type of a genetic test. It's just that you look at a tumor marker from your blood instead of, doing a DNA testing.
But every cell has the same DNA, right? What would be different between the two?
So it just picks up mutations. And also some of the circulating tumor markers that are there in the blood that you would not expect otherwise.
Got it. You mentioned the CRISPR technology. I'm not as familiar with that. Is it possible to remove or insert segments of DNA into our cells as an adult?
So the way it does is that they draw the cells, and then there are specific very high advanced labs. In those labs, these cells are then, you introduce some of the vectors or the viral vectors or some of the specific things that you want that can attack the particular kind of cells in your own body, and then grow those cells and put them back in your. It's a very laymanish way of saying it. It's far more complicated, far more complex than the way I'm putting it. But essentially, that's what these technologies are all about. So yes, they are about you take out a diseased cell or or you enhance the capability of your own protective cells to specifically target and counter the cell proliferation, which you don't want in the body.
Cancer cells, typically.
Yes.
Okay. So you modify your own immune cells or other cells in your body to attack the...
without doing a collateral damage. That's what CAR-T and all others
Got
are.
it. Because previously with cancer therapies like radiation, that would kill the cancer cells, but also other tissue.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So now we can target exactly
that. So the idea of precision medicine is largely to say, how do you prevent the damage to a non-disease cell? That's why we have things like, let's say, a gamma knife or an MR linac. In Fortis, we're just introducing these two, very high advanced equipment. Again, so gamma knife is for metastatic brain cell tumors. Very, very precise, to a less than a millimeter. So the rays would just only impact the tumor, which is less than millimeter, and does not affect the normal brain tissue. Similarly, MR linac is again, your normal linear accelerator radiation therapy machines, but so precise and MR based that you're able to see the movement of the organs, so that when the rays go, they are so precise that they only impact the disease pattern and not your normal cells.
Okay.
So idea is to minimize the side effects or the impact of some of these therapies. That is how the evolution of medicine has been, that how targeted and personalized can you become.
Got it. Would also love to discuss how innovations in computer science, AI and ML are being introduced into healthcare today.
So a lot of work happening on it. I think it started again a while ago. Google happened, Deep Purple happened, Microsoft did it. And there is a huge amount of research happening on it. There are some of the models like MedPAM 1 and 2, which have already come in. Now the challenge, and especially in the Indian context so far, is that we do not have a structured data sets. So many hospitals do not have adoption of electronic medical records. So currently, a lot of that knowledge is a tacit knowledge, which is in the minds of clinicians, as well as on paper notes. So now, there, in India also, this whole adoption of EMR is going to significantly increase. So my sense is that in about 3 to 5 years, and maybe earlier, you would have a lot of structured data, and that's when these models can unleash unlimited insights, knowledge, as well as actionable on it. So currently, so you have a lot of these diagnostic parameters that are largely digitized, right? But a human, a person, and the treatment journey is very holistic. You need the values, but you also need to understand the patient on a whole, and that bit is not digitized today in much of the Indian landscape. That's changing very fast. There is also a lot of policy level governmental push to say that we need to have structured EMR. So this whole ABA IDs are getting created. There's a discussion about interoperability of your medical data. I do believe that it may be a game changer. The way UPI changed the face of financial transactions, it's likely to happen for healthcare in India, and probably the first one globally in next about 3 to 5 years. And once and if that happens, that's when your AI and data and language models can be a game changer.
Got it. So it seems that the issue is not in the AI models, it's in the consolidation of data. I've experienced this issue because I go to Fortis for an X-ray or whatever, and I'm also getting a blood test from Lalpath Labs, and these data sets never talk to each other.
Exactly. So you wouldn't know, so how do you learn about patient data sets if they're not all on one platform?
So do you see this happening? Do you see companies coming together and saying, okay, we'll upload everything? Oh, wow.
Already. So government started this whole program about interoperability, and they are, so we are, talking to them and, saying that. So they want to create an exchange, which it's a data exchange, which would sort of be be a layer with the insurance providers as well as hospital systems as well as all the diagnostic systems, so that a person's health records from everybody gets consolidated on the click of the button. And obviously they own the data. Like, I would like to own my own data. It's the private data, and I give access to whoever I want to give on a click of a button. But yes, that is, the journey has started. It's complex, it's not easy, but I do feel that it's for real, and it would happen in next 3 to 5 years.
On a more personal note, for viewers out there, what can we do today to better consolidate our health records and analyze them for better outcomes? Any advice you have?
I think for us, important would be to start consolidating at our personal level, in ensuring that you do have digitized copies. Many times we do not do that. And, idea is, even if you have to keep the PDFs, do that. And actually, there are already some apps available that I'm aware of, where you can just upload that and they digitize all of that data and start consolidating it. So I know there's one Eka, there are 2, 3, 4 more actually, which already exist. They're called PHR apps, where you could start doing that already, and they would then get integrated with the government systems. And I think government also started thinking about it because of COVID, right? When they did the COVID app, so they have data for everybody, right? Because we all got COVID vaccinations and we all had COVID ID. So the overall broader plan is to actually integrate the Aadhaar ID with health records and do the interoperability. So at an individual level, to an extent, it's possible to do it already now.
Amazing. Switching gears a little bit, I think it's so interesting that as a doctor, you're also involved in hospital administration at scale. What does your day look like? Do you still see patients? What problems are you working on today?
Now, for many years, I do not do clinical practice. So because it's not possible to do both, you're not able to do justice to either. So I think that decision kind of got made when I kind of switched here completely. So my day looks like, I look after growth and innovation, which would mean that in terms of growth, I look after, where are the opportunities, where are we doing well, what is the market looking like, which are the new medical programs that are growing faster, how do we ensure that, we introduce them, how do we reach out to the community and speak about our value proposition, be it on the digital side, be it on the offline side. Also, in terms of innovation, again, figuring out what's happening around the world. Some of these are in different stages, right? Where are there things that, we should start introducing to Fortis. Also, inculcating the innovation within our ecosystem. So we run this innovation challenge every year where we ask the people on the ground to share, what they can do differently. So evaluating that, doing that. So this is what I do. Now, day to day, also most important stakeholder are the people who are delivering the care to our patients. We are a service industry business, right? So our core is patient centricity and ensuring that we take care of our patients and deliver best clinical outcomes. I think that's pretty much what we do. So my role is to work very closely with clinicians, understand how we can empower them, what are the issues that they face, how can we introduce, different processes as well as like things like robotics and so on to make them deliver the care better every day.
Got it. And what led you to make this switch? I don't think I know any doctors turned MBA business people. What was the decision making behind that?
So it was actually back in 2009, so a long time ago, and it was not very planned, frankly. At that time, the corporate healthcare was sort of beginning, right? There was only 1 or 2 players before that. And there were some large mega acquisitions that had happened. It was all over in the newspaper. And I just happened to be in my maternity leave. And I was just talking to a few people and I just thought that there seems to be a need, eventually when large healthcare systems would come into play, then who's going to bridge the language and who can speak both languages of a clinician as well as of a business professional. And I think I just took my GMAT and it just turned out very well at that time. In fact, I had a very young child, but I just went into ISB and no looking back ever since.
Oh, ISB was just taking off at this.
Yeah, the ISB was there for quite a few years, but that was the only business school which was focused also in a way on healthcare. It had a lot of industry interaction and interface, and it did seem like a place where they had sort of identified healthcare as an important one. And it was not a healthcare dedicated course. It was like a usual. So I majored in finance and strategy, but I think it did provide an ecosystem for a lot of industry interactions, and it just turned out well for me.
Got it. So I think there's a life lesson here for young people. If you can take two communities or two industries that normally don't talk to each other, that have limited interaction and can straddle that, I think there are numerous opportunities that can emerge.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Lovely.
Yes.
Anything else about your journey and maybe some insights for young people? I think today there are 100 different things for them to do, and they're pulled in so many different directions. Any guidance on how they can find their unique niche the way you did?
They will have to be open. Don't be closed, right? In your mindset. Now, there are certain traditional set paths that have been defined, that have been blessed by society and community as, like, when I chose to be a doctor, my parents were very happy, right? Obviously, it's like, who's not going to be happy? So there's a way to do that. And if you feel that you're passionate about that, then please follow that. But if you're unsure, it's all right. Today, I think there's enough security and enough opportunities for people to try and experiment and find their groove. And I think that is very important, because long term, if you land up in a place where you don't want to be, it's not worth it. And another, I think, great thing is that today, the flexibility is a lot more. So even if you were to choose a path which you feel is not what you intended to be, I think it's much easier to make a shift and go there. And a piece of advice that I give: do not let anybody tell you that you're not ready for it. I've experienced it all my life. I've had instances where I've taken on assignments which I had never done before, with a lot of doubt and with a lot of skepticism from peers and superiors. But I think as long as you're focused and you want to know that you can do it, and obviously back it up with the hard work, only you know you're ready. And just jump in, just say yes, and then figure out how to do it.
Okay, lovely. In this transition from medicine to management, I would assume that there's a certain mindset you need as a doctor with the Hippocratic Oath. Whoever walks in, it doesn't matter what their background is. It is my dharma to serve them. As a business person, you're thinking about finance and strategy, as well as customer centricity. Did your medical practice help you, or were there sometimes some trade-offs that you had to make? If you can talk about the shift in mindset between these two domains.
Yeah. So I think one of the very different take between a medicine and professional is, so medicine is largely solo. You have individual stars, you have individual doctors, and yes, team plays a role, but it is largely in my discipline, right? Let's say a cardiac surgeon largely works with his or her own team, and their interaction with the rest of the specialties is transactional. On the business side, it's all about team. Everything is about team. So the mindset is very different. And I think bringing all of that together is one of the biggest challenges that you have to face. Now, in terms of goals and alignment, I think today, both the doctors and the management have learned to work together, and it always have to be your joint goals and joint vision and joint way of taking care, which means that, to your point, that, if a patient walks into the ER where affordability is a question, or your typical charges are high, how do you deal with those situations? So I think together we know that saving life is given, even for a management versus and a doctor both. And so the manual would be that do whatever you can to save the life. Now, once you've done that, is there a way we can raise funds for them? Is there a way that, and we do honor some of, our hospitals. We have EWS, we have have kind of schemes to look after marginalized. Sometimes we go out and actually help raise funds for them. So idea is to be able to do both at one time and do not have divergent goals. And it does need a lot of communication between doctors and administrators. And it is, we spend typically about 35 to 40% of time, even at the senior most level, with the doctors. And I think that's the key to running a good healthcare organization, so that there's a lot of communication and perspective sharing that happens all the time to be able to drive benefits for both.
And I would assume, given that you were a doctor first, you would be able to earn the respect of other doctors and be able to convey to them that, look, I understand.
Yes, it helps a lot. There is no doubt about it. If you have been a clinician, and also since I'm a clinician, I also have a lot of family and friends who are doctors and practicing doctors. So you're always aware of the ecosystem. You're not far away from it at all. Like my husband is a plastic surgeon, or my friends are practicing surgeons, right? So you're always surrounded by that perspective, and that is so important to build that trust, that confidence, and also the ability to have candid conversations with each other. So it's easy for a clinician to tell me that, look, oh, you've crossed the line, but do you remember XYZ? And for me to say that, look, I understand, but I'm also aware of some of the things that happen on the clinician side that can be better. So I understand that mindset, and that does help in bridging the gap significantly.
Lovely. A quick rapid fire. What is your favorite piece of medical equipment?
Robos.
Okay. Lovely. Fantastic. What's one action viewers can take right now to improve their health?
Eat right.
Got it. Anything in particular you would emphasize?
Low carbs.
Got it.
High protein, low carbs.
Wonderful. What's one value you hold dear?
Integrity.
Got it. Excellence is blank.
Excellence is imperative. Excellence is not always perfection.
Ooh. You have to explain that.
So, sometimes you have a trade-off between time and 100% perfection. And excellence, sometimes the time is so much of an essence that you could still have a 99% timely, which is excellence.
So like 99% today might be better than 100% next week.
Yes.
Got it. I think that's very true in the startup world as well. What's one thing you know now that you wish you knew when you were 20?
Relationships. Personal, professional, every time.
Got it. And what's one action that young people today can take to improve the strength and quality of their relationships?
Spend time, hear people out, empathy.
Got it. Thank you. Last question. We kind of touched upon this, but what's one change you'd love to see in India or the world in a decade, in 2035?
In terms of India healthcare, I would love to see, Indian healthcare better than US and UK, and very much possible to do. So again, in India is the only place where you can see a super specialist in less than $10 in 24 hours.
Wow.
And idea is that how do you make it $2 to the last mile?
Understood. Lovely. Dr. Garg, thank you for all the insights. Love the conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me here. Thank you.